Selecting a journal for a research. Tips and tricks. Getting a paper published can be a challenge if the journal is not the right fit. But why to publish? Do you want to share your knowledge, document scientific information, or document your ownership of the findings, for personal promotion, to acquire an award, to get money, or simply to enjoy? Journals are the main formal channels for scientific communications. The goal is to disseminate qualified science. That's why they have a peer review to filter and improve the quality of publications. Do you know that the first journal was launched in 1661 and it's still functioning till date? It is Philosophical Transactions by the Royal Society of London. The criteria of a journal selection that we'll be covering in this lecture are topic matching, audiences, visibility and indexing, quality, prestige, simplicity, review time, acceptance possibility, matrices, and cost. Let's start with the match topic. To know that the journal is matching your topic of research, you have to check the aims and the scope of the journal. And you have to check if there are similar work to yours published by the journal. Also, you have to check the type of publications accepted by the journal. For example, if you want to publish a case report, many journals do not accept such a form. Who are the audiences you are expecting to read your work? Do you want a specialized one, a field-oriented journal? For example, a radiology journal, whether it is a general or even a subspecialty, or you would like to have a multidisciplinary with readers of different fields, for example, nature, +1, or JAR, and or also the language, English, or for example, French, if you wish. The index journals are the best in general because indexing provides matrices for the journal and the author. The bodies giving indexing, the important ones, are the Science Citation Index, Elsevier, Scopus, and Google Scholar. For the core web of science database to give an indexing for a journal, the journal has to have a proper peer review, to follow ethics of publishing, to have all the technical requirements, and that the journal provides bibliographic information for the articles. They provide the author name, the title of the article, date of publication, the country, the press, the volume, and the page number. And also, the journal should have been requested by scholarly audience of the Web of Science users. An important indexing system, which is the Science Citation Index, it is launched in 1964 by Institute of Scientific Information, or the Web of Science. But in 1992, it was acquired by Thomson Reuters, and now it is owned by Clarivate Analytics. So if you find any of the ISI, Web of Science, Thomson Reuters, or Clarivate, they denote the same thing. There is an extended form of the Science Citation Index, which includes all the previous one in the Science Citation Index, and in addition, the online journals. An important metrics that we have to discuss is the impact factor. Impact factor is given by the Journal Citation Report Thomson Reuters. It is the average number of citations per paper published in the journal in the last 2 years. The total citations divided by the total articles. So new journals with less than 2 years have no impact factor. The impact factor is not stable. It changes periodically every 2 years. It starts from a little bit above 0 to no limit. The highest impact factor is 187, and the impact factor journals more than 10 are actually less than 2% of journals. This may be needed a little bit updating. The something else, the Emerging Sources Citation Index, which is the Thomson Reuters, launched recently in 2015. Those journals with no impact factor are offered to be evaluated every year, and if qualified, will be then transferred to the extended form. Do you think that the journal that not indexed in SCI is good or bad? Yes, some good journals are indexing in other systems. For example, the site score is similar to impact factor for those launched by Elsevier, and this was in December 2016, and an alternative form of impact factor for Scopus indexed journals. Instead of 2 years, the site score is calculated with the average citations per document over a 3-year period. It calculates the citations from all documents in year 1 to all documents published in the prior 3 years for a title. Another matrix is the Eigenfactor Score, developed in 2007. This one, it rates the importance of a journal, so it rates the number of incoming citations with citations from important ranked journals. The SJR is an alternative to the impact factor. It is sort of a version of Eigenfactor. It measures the influence of a journal, the number of citations, and journal importance. The Journal Citation Report, or Thomson Reuters, provides also a yearly ranking of science and social science journals in the subject categories relevant for the journal. For example, the Q1 are the top 25% of impact factor distribution, Q2 is middle to high, Q3 is the middle to low position, and Q4 is the lowest position, which is the bottom 25% for this category. But is impact factor a real measure of equality? This is really debatable, and many studies have addressed this issue. Is it a valid measure of journal quality or not? The impact factor from Thomson Reuters, originally created as a tool to help librarians to identify journals to purchase, not to measure the scientific quality of a research of an article. But impact factor currently has been used as the primary parameter to compare the scientific output of individuals and institutions. The DORA, or the Declaration of Research Assessment, the conference in San Francisco in December 2012, recommended that impact factors are useful, but they should not be the only consideration when judging quality. The scientific worth of an individual article has nothing to do with the journal's impact factor. Eliminate impact factor in funding, appointment, and promotions considerations. The deficiencies of the impact factor that they are field specific. For example, the impact factor of the best journal in our field is 7.2. Equivalent journals in other specialties, for example, the neurology, have higher impact factor. For example, Lancet Neurology, its impact factor is 26. Also, if you consider subspecialty in radiology, it varies. If you publish in cardiac subspecialty, you can publish in impact factor 3, but if you have your work is interventional, you can only find low impact factor journals as low as 1.4. So this does not mean that your interventional work is bad. There's also the citation has deficiencies, especially that the editorial policy, sometimes they play games, that they accept more review articles getting more citations. And also, there is no transparency in regards to the data used to calculate the impact factor. The important criteria of a journal selection that it has a good quality peer review. reviewed by experts in the field. Also, it's good to check for the quality of the publication. For example, if it's an online or it's a hard copy, get a sample and have a look. The quality of the figures, the pictures, the layout, and the photos. Maybe you can get an idea of the quality of the journal. The criteria of a journal selection, important for me, is communication. I would like to submit my work to a website that is simple to use, and that the time to hear the decision is not too long, neither too fast, because this may have a compromised quality. And also I have to know the possibility of getting accepted in such a journal before submitting to it. The cost is an issue, although some journals are free, and you can only pay if you want a color picture or so. Others you have to pay, and others you pay only if you choose to have it as an open access, to be free to see by everybody, to increase the visibility of your work. You have to check also for the publisher, because this is a quality important to know and give it prestige for your work. The ISSN is an international standard serial number. It is given for any publication, a journal, a magazine, a book, and it's formed of 8 digits. It identifies the journal, the print, and there's another one for the electronic. Does not guarantee the quality of the contents. A publication or a publisher having only ISSN, this is not a measure of quality. The criteria of a journal selection also that you have to check for stability. You want a journal that would provide you with a DOI, or the digital object identifier. This is a unique digit signature for each paper, its figures, or any other digital object. It helps in locating the paper in the internet. So if the URL of a paper gets changed and you have a registered DOI, your work is still stable and can be located. A similar thing provided by PubMed, assigning an ID for a paper, and also can be important. For the Egyptian radiology promotion, it depends on the level of the journal, whether it is a Q1, Q2, and 3 and 4, and of course the better ones goes for the Q1 and Q2, and also it goes for the specialized journals rather than the general journals. It's important also that to know that the journals that have a Q1 or Q2 in the Web of Science may not be re-evaluated, and they will be assigned certain points. And also, if your work is published in such journals, you may have sort of a distinguished scientific level, and can skip the evaluation all over. You may also want to check with your university if they provide an awards for publication or not. Many provide awards. For example, I know Cairo University, I know Beni Suef, maybe yours too. You can go and check if your publication would fit, and to get the award and the recognition for your publication. We have to talk about the Egyptian Journal of Radiology of Nuclear Medicine, Editor-in-Chief Dr. Tariq El-Dayasti. The publisher recently has been changed to Springer Open. The journal is indexed in Scopus, Google Scholar, and a lot of reputable indexing systems. For the SGR, it has a Q4, and it is important to know that it was in 2018, it was in Q3, and now it is in Q4. This is an opportunity that we to announce that we have all to support our journal, and to submit one or more of our research works to be published in the Egyptian Journal of Radiology and Nuclear Medicine. I published one of my works in July 2020 in the Egyptian Journal. It was a very successful and trending worldwide. This is an important thing to give a buzz and recognition for our society journal. The site score of the journal, Egyptian Journal, is 0.5 in the way that I've told you about. I have to also warn you from the fake publishers. These are bogus journals that have no credibility whatsoever, and they guarantee publication if you pay. It's all about money. You have to know the criteria to detect fake journals. You have to check where it is indexed, and whether this journal is stable or not. How long has it been available? But for new journals, it's okay. But you have to check the journal mission clearly and the editorial board of that journal. You have to check whether the journal has a reputable publisher, or published by a scholarly society. For example, the RSNA published the Radiology and the Radiographics. If the journal is peer reviewed, and is the time for review is reasonable to assure quality assessment, and what is the impact factor and other matrices of the journal, because you want to know the visibility of the journal. You don't want to publish in a journal that nobody will read your work. Recently, there were a brochure circulating in the radiology departments, and it came to in Kasr Ainy for a publisher called the Marsland, and they had very appealing names of journals. One of them, they call it Nature and Science, and the other is Journal of American Science. You would think that this is a very good journals, but this exact one, it is not indexed. There is no peer review. You can publish your work in only 24 hours. The Egyptian Radiology Promotion Committee, they do not recommend such publications. It is not recognized by universities even when paying the fees for publication or awards. It's listed as a fake publisher. If you go to the google.com site, fake research journal publishers, and so it is important that you would search well before you publish. There is the Jeffrey Beal, who is librarian at University of Colorado. He updates a list of fake journals every now and then. You may check if your journal you are intending to publish, if it is in the Beal list or not. But also I found good journals in his list. So I wouldn't also take his list for granted. I would do my own research work in the way that we have discussed today. And you can go and publish today with the best of luck. Thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا دكتورة سحر سليم. طبعا يعني احنا نعتز بمشاركة دكتورة سحر بأي شكل من الأشكال. طبعا هي كان عندها ظرف طارئ، كلمتني بالأمس يعني إن هي مش هتقدر تكون حاضرة معانا، لكن احنا طبعا يعني شرف لينا مشاركتها بأي شكل من الأشكال، وإن شاء الله في مرات قادمة إن شاء الله يعني تبقى لايف معانا. أنا عندي سؤال بس للدكتور هيثم. دكتور هيثم, for a paper that's rejected even after correction of the reviewer comments, it's advised to send this paper to another journal as the same, or you advise the author to make more correction, or he can send the paper as it is?
Yes, of course. As long as this is a real paper, there is no need for cancellation. But the rejection process is not a bad. Every researcher faced many times for rejection. Last year, I have found 5 rejections for one of my papers, and finally submitted in Q1 journal. Okay, so the best way is to take the corrections and the advices from the reviewers and make these corrections to make it better, and check their comments and modify the comments if there is a problem about the results, statistics. They have a suggestion to make a modified approach or a new approach. And in many cases, the rejection is not from the paper content itself. It could be not suitable for the journal. And this is a very important step, how to select the journal suitable for your paper. And this has come from experience. It could be published a paper, it's not suitable for Q1, so I don't waste the time to submit in a Q1. You should have experience about the level of the article. So I don't waste this time to submit in the Q1 paper, and I know that it's Q3 or Q4. So second thing, you should, when you submit a paper for a specific journal, you should search for, is this journal has a similar article or not? Because it's a matter of citation. If the journal has the same or similar article, it will not be accepted and could be refused from the editorial level. So always we check if the journal have the similarity, especially in the last years or not. Because if the paper of the journal has not the same, so you have a chance, more a chance. So don't look for the journal who have the similar article, because, okay, they satisfied from this idea. They would not publish it anymore. So otherwise, if you have a unique modification, a novel modification, and they get attention for the novelty of your idea. But I'm always looking for journal who not published a similar article, especially in the last years. So of course, the submission process, especially the last years, become difficult and more difficult, because the field of radiology, as you know, has very advanced and rapid in advancement, and they need to use the new techniques all the time, new idea, especially now are looking for trend idea. Trend ideas like the COVID research or artificial intelligence. In many situations, we don't have these capabilities, but we are looking to modify or old idea by using a modified approach or a large sample size and so on. So the rejection itself is not bad, but the most important to select the appropriate journal for your specific article.
Okay, Dr. Haytham, thank you. Dr. Tariq, regarding the papers for case reports, when this paper is accepted for graduation from lecture to assistant, is there is a limited number of cases, or any case reports can be accepted?
يعني في الاساس ما بيبقاش مستحسن ان يعني لما حد بيسال المفروض ما يقدمش كيس ريبورت في التقييم للبروموشن وذر اسوسييت بروفيسور او بروفيسور. بيبقى تقييمها ضعيف من المحكمين، لان ده ما بيعتبرش كومبليت ريسيرش ورك. يعني هو عايز يبقى في حاجه معموله لها ستايل تاني وريسيرش حقيقي، مش جاست كيس ريبورت. ممكن لما بيبقى كيس سيريز او كيس ريبورت يونيك ومعاها ريفيو اوف ليتريتشر ممكن تتقبل، بس هو لو يعني احنا بنادفايس المتقدم ان هو لو عنده حاجات تبقى اقوى من كده يبقى افضل. لو هو محتاج بيها يكمل المده او يكمل العدد، ممكن جاست واحد، يعني في العدد واحد يبقى كافي، ما يبقاش اكتر من كده.
لكن هو طب امتى البيبر
يعني هو في نقطه خاصه دي ونقطه ثانيه خاصه. ما هي بتبقى مقبوله، متقال عليها، بتبقى متصنفه في وهي ببلشت في اي مجله ان دي كيس ريبورت، يعني بتبقى معروفه. لكن انا اقصد غير لما يبقى مجموعه حالات، غير ما يبقى مثلا كيس ريبورت عامل اديكوت ريفيو اوف ليتريتشر على الموضوع، يعني مش جاست ذاكر حاله واحده. ده ممكن يبقى له اعتبار افضل شويه، لكن كنصيحه عامه مش من المفروض ان هو يقدمها في الترقيه لو هو عنده حاجات تانية غير الكيس ريبورت. لو هو بلايجد ان هو يقدم حاجه عشان المده بتاعت ال 24 شهر، او عشان العدد يبقى هو مثلا محتاج يزودها، او هو عنده 4 اقوياء ومحتاج واحده 5 عشان المينيمم نمبر، يعني وات ايفر، ممكن في الحاله دي يقدمها، لكن ما يبقاش في اعتماد عليها او من الافضل. زي الريفيو ارتكلز، يعني في ناس بتستني برضه نقدم ريفيو ارتكلز. الريفيو ارتكلز ما فيش ما يمنع في اللائحه من اللجنه تقبلها، بس هي المشكله بيبقى في تقييم الريفيو المحكمين. لما بتروح للمحكمين ممكن ناس بتديها ضعيف على انها it is not a scientific work. فبالتالي انا بنصح برضو الناس ان هو اللي هيحب يقدم ريفيو ارتكلز بتبقى في مجله لا تقيم، يعني بيدي الارتكلز دي تكون منشوره بتاعته، وناس كتير دلوقتي بتنشر الحمد لله في Q1 او Q2 تبع الويب اوف ساينس ريفيو ارتكل، فبالتالي بتبقى لا تقيم، مش هتتبعت لمحكمين وهتتحسب له كمقاله Q1 او Q2. لكن لو في مجلات عاديه هتقيم بيبقى في تخوف شديد ان هي مش هتبقى ابريشيتد من المحكمين اللي بيروح لهم الورق.
انا احب بس اضيف حاجه يا دكتور طارق بعد اذنك.
طيب بالنسبه للدكتور رجب.
دكتور رجب.
اي
انت ميوتد يا دكتور رجب، بس افتح.
اتفضل. اوكي. هو طبعا يمكن الدكتور طارق اتكلم على الكيس ريبورت من ناحيه ان هي فور بروموشن، يعني اللي هي بتقدم لجنه الترقيات. لكن الكيس ريبورت عشان تتقبل ممكن كيس ريبورت مع الريفيو اوف ليتريتشر عن السيميلار كيسز والديفرنت فيتشرز بتاع افري كيس، ممكن تكون موضوع توبيك جميل ويقبل هذا الريسيرش. ملهاش عدد هاو many يعني ايه published cases for that case. يعني ممكن يكون الكيس ريبورت النمبر مثلا 100، لكن مثلا يكون في رير برزنتيشن، او يكون في عندنا ابنورمال مثلا افكشن لاورجانز او اي حاجه يقبل ككيس ريبورت ويبقى موضوع مقبول كريسيرش.
طيب ممكن اضيف حاجه بعد اذنك؟ هو حضرتك بس في فرق حضرتك، لان دي حاجات فعلا بنشوفها في لما بيجي لنا مقالات بنراجعها. هو في كونفيوجن او في اختلاط في بعض الاذهان، بعض الباحثين، ما بين الكيس ريبورتس والريتروسبكتيف ستادي. يعني وعشان كده يمكن نوهت في المحاضره بتاعتي انك لازم نعرف الديفرنت تايبس اوف ستادي ديزاين. يعني الكيس ريبورت، يعني لو انا عندي 100 حاله هيبقى حرام ان انا اعملها حاجه اسمها كيس ريبورت. يعني هو في الحاله ديت اعملها ستادي، لان الفرق ما بين الكيس ريبورت والريتروسبكتيف ستادي ان الكيس ريبورت بنقول عليها ديسكريبتيف ستادي، مجرد ان انا بشوف حاجات وبقول لها ديسكريبشن وخلاص. انما ريتروسبكتيف ستادي دي بتقع تحت ستادي ديزاين بنسميها اوبزرفيشنال او كوهورت ستادي، ودي ستادي ديزاين قويه لازم بيعمل فيها اناليسيس او بعمل فيها كومبير بين تو جروبس. وهنا الاناليسيس المقصود بيه مش هقول جاست برسنتج انا لقيت مثلا 20 حاله كوفيد 19 معاهم هيموريج او معاهم برين افكشن وخلاص، لا لازم يبقى في عندي ايفيدنس بيز، لازم اقارنها بمجموعه ثانيه، لازم اذكر بي فاليو، لازم اذكر statistical تيست معين استخدمته في الاناليسيس. ده كله في الاوبزرفيشنال ستادي. انما الكيس ريبورت او الكيس سيريز ما بيبقاش فيها هذه الفاليو، دي مجرد جاست ريبورت. انا عندي 20 حاله كوفيد 19 او 50 حاله لقيت فيهم برين افكشن او سي ان اس افكشن في 10% من الحالات، لقيت كدني افكشن في 5% من الحالات وخلاص. لكن هل ده يثبت شيء؟ ده مجرد دي بتعتبر يعني بيزل ستيب انها ممكن ابني عليها فرصر ريسيرش ستادي اقوى زي مثلا بروسبكتيف ستادي او ريتروسبكتيف ستادي. دي بس هنت عشان فعلا الكومنت ده بنشوفه الناس بتبقى للاسف بعتها انها كل الكلام بتاعها كيس سيريس وكاتبه في التايتل ريتروسبكتيف ستادي، فدي يعني فيتال ميستيك. لكن طبعا لو معاه ريفيو يبقى شيء
دكتور هيثم اللي حضرتك بتقول عليه ده الفرق بين الكيس سيريز والريتروسبكتيف ستادي.
تمام
مش كده الكيس سيريز اللي احنا بنقول عليه في الاول كيس ريبورت، ان انا بعمل يونيك كيس واحده واقدمها. فهي دي اللي مش مستحب ان انا اقدم وان كيس بدون ما اعمل زي الدكتور قال ان انا اعمل ريفيو اوف ليتريتشر قوي، او ان انا اعمل مجموعه من الحالات مثلا 3-4 كيس رير برضه يونيك ومعاهم ريفيو اوف ليتريتشر. لكن ده الكيس سنجل كيس ده مختلفه عن الكيس سيريز.
تمام.
دكتور رجب، بالنسبه للستاتستكس اللي احنا بنعملها في الريزلت، هل يعني ممكن الاسر يقدر يتعامل مع الريزلتس بتاعته لو هي حاجه سيمبل ريزلت، ولا لازم يستعين بحد يقدر يعمل له الكلام ده، يعني حد متخصص يعني يعمل له الاستاتستيك؟
هو طبعا ده سؤال يعني جميل، والاجابه عليه برضو بتبقى مختلفه باختلاف الناس. طبعا الايديال ان احنا طبعا الريسيرشر ده يكون بيعرف statistics، ويكون زي ما قال الدكتور شيب ان يكون عنده مثلا باك جراوند عن افري ميثود وتستخدم في ايه، مش لازم يكون يدخل في الديتيلز هاو تو كالكوليت وازاي يطلع النتيجه. لكن للاسف لان الاستاتستكس طول عمرها يعني من الحاجات اللي ايه بتبقى صعب يعني الواحد يقراها ويفهمها ويعمل لها ريتريف، فممكن ساعتها الريسيرشر وهو بيدي الريزلت بتاعته لحد يعني سبيشالست ان دوينج statistics ممكن يقول له انا عاوز نتائج المختلفه، عاوز تطلع لي النتائج دي، عاوز تقارن لي بين ده وده، عاوز تقول لي دواء مور سنسيتيف عن ده ولا لا، تقول لي الاكيورسي بتاعت جروب ايه مع جروب بي وانهم موداليتي احسن منه. يعني ممكن يجايد اللي هو السبيشالست ان statistics في النتائج. لكن طبعا الايديال لو هو يقدر يعمل الحاجات دي، وللاسف يمكن اقل من اللي انا اعرفهم، مثلا هنقول ايه 5% اللي بيقدروا يجمع بين المهارتين دول ان يعمل ريسيرش ويبقى جود ان statistics. فهو لازم لما يكون عارف بس على الاقل طبيعه النتائج او كميه النتائج اللي هو عاوزها ايه هي، ويديله ويقول له انا عاوز النتائج في الشكل ده.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور هيثم، شكرا جزيلا دكتور رجب، جزيل الشكر لاستاذنا العزيز الدكتور طارق الزياشي. شكرا جزيلا دكتور طارق على دعمك المستمر ودعمك للمؤتمر بشكل كامل. شرف لينا جدا جدا جدا،
يسعدني ويشرفني.
وده طبعا مش غريب على حضرتك خالص يا دكتور طارق، يعني بنشكر حضرتك جدا جدا جدا، وان شاء الله يعني دايما معانا كده في كل المواقف والمؤتمرات ان شاء الله.
شاء الله ربنا يوفقك.
شكرا دكتورة سحر، ونلتقي ان شاء الله في مرة قادمة نبقى لايف ان شاء الله دكتورة سحر. شكرا لكم جميعا. هنبدأ السيشن HT